Black CEO kicked out of her own hotel 10 minutes later. The staff begged to stay. Hello everyone, before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to the story. Get out. Now. The sound tore through the grand lobby like a whip. Guests froze mid-conversation, glasses paused halfway to their lips. The man in the tailored navy suit, Mark Dillard, the hotel manager, stood inches from a woman in a plain black shirt. His finger was so close to her face it caught the glint of the chandelier above them. She didn't flinch. Her jaw barely moved. Around them, 10 staff members formed a silent semicircle, some amused, some uneasy. The marble floor reflected the scene like a stage built for humiliation. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now back to Alicia Monroe. Alicia's voice, when it came, was low, steady enough to make the air tremble. You're yelling at the owner. The laughter that followed was nervous, quick. Mark forced a grin. Sure, and I'm the president. Let's go, ma'am. We don't need a scene. She stayed still. Behind her, a guest raised a phone, recording quietly. Alicia spoke again, almost softly. A scene? You've already made one. Her calm spread like gravity. Even the music from the bar seemed to fade. Mark's grin cracked. His voice rose louder to reclaim control. People like you walk in every week pretending to belong here. Not today. People like me, she repeated. No anger. Just echo. He didn't answer, only motioned to security. Somewhere behind the front desk, a young trainee named Leah whispered to another clerk. Her name's in the system. I saw it this morning. The clerk shot her a warning look, but Leah's eyes stayed on Alicia, the woman who now stood centered under the chandelier's gold light, unmoved, unbroken. Mark reached for her arm. Gasps rippled through the room. A single word slipped from Alicia's lips, sharp as glass. Don't. Everything stopped. For a second, the only sound was the hum of the air conditioner and the shaky breathing of a crowd that didn't yet realize they were watching a power shift begin. For a full 5 seconds, nobody breathed. The chandelier hummed faintly, swaying above the silence it had just witnessed. Mark Dillard's jaw twitched, half anger, half confusion. He had expected panic, apology, maybe tears. But the woman in front of him was still, composed. Too composed. He stepped back, covering his unease with a smirk. You're really going to keep pretending? Fine. Security will handle this. 2 guards in navy suits appeared from the hallway. They weren't sure what they were walking into, but the manager's tone left no room for hesitation. One whispered, "What's the issue?" Mark replied loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. "Trespassing. Possibly a stolen card. Happens more than you think." Alicia blinked once. That was it. She didn't plead, didn't argue. She simply reached into her purse, pulled out a black credit card, and placed it on the counter, smooth, deliberate. The staff exchanged looks. The gesture was too calm for a con. Leah, the intern, still filming from behind a flower arrangement, zoomed in. She could read the name embossed in silver: A. Monroe. Her heart kicked against her ribs. She mouthed, "Oh my God." Mark slid the card with 2 fingers, inspecting it as if it might bite. "Looks fancy," he said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Too bad fakes look the same." He turned to the nearest clerk. "Lock this up until the bank confirms." Alicia's gaze didn't shift. "Are you sure you want to do that?" That question, so calm, so steady, made the younger clerk hesitate. But Mark didn't. He pushed the card toward the safe drawer. "Policy!" he snapped. Behind them, a guest whispered, "Is this really happening?" Another raised their phone. The lobby's atmosphere thickened. Every sound, the clack of heels, the hiss of espresso steam, felt amplified. Alicia spoke again, just loud enough for him to hear. "You keep saying policy. I built that word." He laughed, unsure why his palms had started to sweat. "Lady, you built nothing here?" Her eyes flicked to the nameplate on his chest. Mark Dillard, assistant manager. Then calmly, "Remember that title. It's about to expire." Leah gasped softly. One of the guards turned his head. The marble floor seemed to reflect not just their figures now, but a hierarchy about to flip. Alicia straightened her shoulders. The gold light caught her face like dawn creeping into a storm. "You don't recognize me yet," she said. "But you will," Mark scoffed. "Oh, I'm sure." He didn't notice the quiet vibration of her phone as a message lit up the screen. Protocol 6 armed. Corporate watching live. And for the first time that night, the hotel's music stopped. The music cut mid-note. Even the air conditioning hum seemed to dim, replaced by a silence so sharp it almost whistled. Alicia didn't move. The phone in her hand went dark again, screen fading back to black like a secret. Mark's voice stumbled to fill the vacuum. "All right, ma'am, we've wasted enough time." But he didn't finish. Someone spoke from behind him. "Sir, she has a reservation." Every head turned. It was Leah, the interner voice, small but trembling with something that wasn't fear anymore. She held a printed sheet, crumpled at the corners. "Penthouse suite. Checked in under Alicia Monroe, executive-level clearance." Mark spun on her. "That's not possible." "That name is right here," Leah said louder now. Her cheeks burned, but she didn't lower the page. "She's not trespassing." The guests who had been pretending not to stare were fully watching now. Phones lifted higher. A couple whispered, "Did she just say Monroe?" Alicia looked at Leah steady, unreadable, and gave the smallest nod. It was thanks and warning both at once. Mark snatched the paper, scanning it like it might rearrange itself if he glared hard enough. "This is a glitch. Someone's tampering with the system." Alicia folded her arms. "Or maybe it's showing you something you don't want to see." A ripple ran through the staff. The older clerk, Lauren, shifted her weight. "Maybe we should double-check with head office," she muttered. Mark barked a laugh that cracked halfway through. "Head office, you think I need to call them for this?" He raised his hand toward the security guards again. "Escort her out." One of the guards hesitated. "Sir, maybe—" "Now!" His shout echoed off the marble and the chandelier crystals quivered. Alicia didn't back away. She spoke quietly to the room, not to him. "Funny how quick you call for backup when the truth shows up." No one breathed. Her tone wasn't loud, but it landed like thunder. Leah took another small step forward. "She's the owner, isn't she?" she asked softly, almost to herself. Mark froze. "What did you just say? Her name's on the contracts. I've seen the internal memos, Monroe Group Holdings." The whisper traveled faster than the sound system ever could. Guests began murmuring, turning phones toward Alicia. She turned her head slightly, eyes sweeping the lobby that had turned into a stage. "Keep recording," she said. "Every second counts." Leah nodded, hands shaking. Mark's voice cracked one last time. "You're bluffing." Alicia's reply was barely above a whisper, but every syllable cut clean. "Then call your boss. Ask whose name is on your paycheck." No one moved. Somewhere above them, a faint electronic tone chimed the sound of the building's internal system going live. And for the first time, Mark looked uncertain which side of the glass he stood on. The lobby felt different now, charged, unstable like the air before lightning strikes. Every sound was too loud, every silence too heavy. Guests leaned over balcony rails above phones, glowing like tiny moons. Somewhere near the bar, a woman whispered, "This is going viral." Mark Dillard's posture faltered, but his pride wouldn't. He jabbed a finger toward Alicia. "You think you can walk in here and play games with my staff? You don't scare me." Alicia tilted her head slightly, studying him the way a teacher studies a student seconds before the correction. "I'm not here to scare you," she said. "I'm here to remind you what respect costs." He scoffed, motioning again to the guards. "Do it." The taller guard, Henderson, took one slow step, then stopped. His earpiece buzzed faintly. He raised a hand to it, listening. Sir?" Mark snapped. "What?" Henderson hesitated. "Head office just called down. They're requesting verification of ownership." The room collectively exhaled like the sound of truth finally catching up. Mark forced a laugh. "Someone's confused upstairs. I'll handle it." He turned to the clerk. "Lock her card and shut off that line." The clerk didn't move. She stared at her screen, lips parting in disbelief. "Sir, I can't. The system's frozen." Alicia's phone vibrated once in her palm. She didn't need to look. She already knew. She stepped forward, closing the distance between them until the manager's reflection appeared faintly in her dark shirt. "You still think this is a bluff?" Mark opened his mouth, but before he could speak, the main display behind the front desk flickered. The Horizon Grand logo dissolved into a new line of text, scrolling in quiet authority. "Property audit in progress. Executive level override Monroe Holdings." The silence that followed was not relief. It was reckoning. Leah pressed a hand to her mouth. Guests gasped. The older clerk took a full step back, muttering, "Oh my God." Mark turned toward the screen like he could stare it back to life. "This is some kind of hack." Alicia's voice remained calm, a knife wrapped in velvet. "You're right about one thing," she said. "This is security, just not the kind you called." Her phone buzzed again. She lifted it to her ear. Carla time-stamped the incident. "We're live." The voice on the other end was crisp, professional, unhurried. "Yes, Miss Monroe, HQ has full visual, internal audit team connected. Ready for confirmation." Mark swallowed, his voice thinner now. Ms. Monroe, Alicia finally smiled, small and devastating. "That's the first true thing you've said all night." The guards lowered their hands. One of them stepped quietly behind Mark, unsure where allegiance now lay. The guests, once silent observers, began to murmur words like owner lawsuit. A man in a business suit whispered, "She's her." The Monroe Hotel's woman. Mark's lips trembled. "You can't just—" "I can," Alicia interrupted. "And you just help me prove why I have to." She nodded once toward Leah. "Send that footage to HQ, please." Leah blinked. "Are you sure the truth doesn't need permission?" As the file uploaded, a hush spread through the crowd. Phones tilted down, not out of boredom, but out of reverence. Alicia turned to Mark one last time. "You wanted to show everyone what kind of woman I am. Now they know." The lights above flickered not from power loss, but from the shift of control itself, an empire quietly reclaiming its throne. And as Mark stepped backward, sweat beading at his temple, the automatic doors behind him slid open. From outside came the low hum of approaching black sedans, the unmistakable sound of headquarters arriving. 10 minutes ago, he'd told her to leave. Now the building itself was answering to her name. The doors parted with a sigh, letting in a sweep of night air and the rhythm of approaching heels. 3 figures in tailored black suits entered, first badges gleaming in the lobby light. Behind them came Carla Bennett, Alicia's executive assistant, moving like someone who'd already seen the footage twice. Her expression was calm, surgical. Guests stepped aside instinctively. The guards straightened, uncertain whether to salute or hide. Mark turned, forcing a shaky laugh. "Finally. Good. Maybe now we can clear this mess up." Carla's eyes didn't even find him. They went straight to Alicia. "Audit team is online, ma'am. All feeds confirmed. Board's requesting your live authorization." Alicia nodded once. "Understood." She took a slow step forward, the kind of step that changes the temperature of a room. "Everyone," she said, voice even carrying without effort. "What you witnessed tonight wasn't an accident. It was a mirror." Mark blinked, confused. "A mirror? Yes. It showed you how prejudice looks when it thinks no one important is watching." Leah lowered her phone, breath catching in her throat. Carla approached the front desk, typing a short sequence into the terminal. The display blinked red, then shifted to an admin panel that none of the staff had ever seen before. "Access CEO level termination protocol available." A murmur rolled through the lobby. Mark's face drained of color. "Wait, hold on, this isn't necessary." I didn't know who she was." Alicia's eyes narrowed slightly. "And if I were someone else, your behavior would have been fine?" No answer, just silence, the kind that weighs more than sound ever could. She turned to Carla. "How long until HR syncs?" 30 seconds, Carla said. "They're standing by." Alicia placed her phone on the counter speaker, facing up. "This is Alicia Monroe, CEO of Monroe Holdings. I'm confirming termination of front desk management staff effective immediately. All access revoked." The words were quiet but final, like the last note of a song you didn't realize was ending. Behind her, Leah whispered, "She's really doing it." Carla tapped enter. The system beeped once. The lights over the desk dimmed, then flickered back blue instead of gold. On Mark's chest, his ID badge blinked red. A soft tone confirmed what the color already said. "Access denied." Mark stared at it, mouth open, as if disbelief could reboot the system. Alicia picked up her phone, calm as ever. "Mr. Dillard, this hotel was built to welcome everyone. You made it smaller tonight, and I don't keep people who shrink what I build. No yelling, no anger, just truth." Mark tried to speak, but Carla had already stepped forward, holding a sealed envelope. "Formal notice. You'll receive HR follow-up by morning." And just like that, the man who had shouted, "Get out!" stood silent in the very place he once ruled. Across the room, someone whispered, "That's justice." Alicia didn't smile. She simply turned toward the glass doors where her reflection waited, calm, steady, and free. No one moved. The only sound was the faint clink of a glass tipping over at the bar someone had forgotten to breathe. The energy in the lobby had shifted completely moments ago. It was control by fear. Now it was reverence. The woman they'd tried to remove stood in the center of it all, unmoved, commanding the air just by existing. Mark Dillard still hadn't left. He stood beside the reception desk, pale and trembling, badge glowing a dull red. The guards who once took his orders now avoided his eyes. One of them quietly guided him back behind the counter, whispering, It's over, man. Alicia turned slowly to the staff still standing by. For those who didn't speak, she said, her tone soft but cutting, remember that silence protects the wrong side longer than lies ever could. Lauren, the senior clerk, swallowed hard. Miss Monroe, I didn't know. Alicia looked at her. You didn't ask. That's the point. Carla stood nearby, tablet in hand. Audit team confirms full revocation completed, she reported. HR has requested a statement for internal training. Alicia's eyes drifted over the rows of employees, their polished shoes, their stiff uniforms, the fear disguised as professionalism. Then record this, she said quietly. You can't build luxury on humiliation. Not one floor of this company stands on disrespect. A murmur ran through the guests. Several of them applauded, softly, hesitant at first, then louder. One man raised his phone. She didn't even raise her voice, he whispered to the woman beside him. Mark finally spoke, voice breaking. Miss Monroe, please. This was a misunderstanding. I thought... She cut him off with a look not cruel, just tired. You thought my value depended on your recognition. That single sentence landed like a verdict. Mark's shoulders sagged. I've worked here 12 years. Alicia nodded. And you'll spend the next 12 remembering why this happened. Leah stepped closer, unsure if she should speak. Ma'am, should I stop recording now? Alicia turned to her, the first hint of warmth in her voice. No. People need to see what accountability looks like when it doesn't come with shouting. She glanced toward the guests' phones, raised eyes wide. If one person watching this decides to speak up the next time they see bias, then tonight was worth it. The applause grew, not wild, not cinematic, but human. Carla closed her tablet. Protocol complete, Miss Monroe. Legal's been notified. Alicia exhaled a slow, controlled breath that seemed to reset the room. The gold lights of the chandelier shimmered on her black shirt, turning it almost bronze. Then let's remind them, she said softly, that every empire has a soul. Ours begins again tonight. The cameras kept rolling as she turned away. Outside, the night waited, quiet, deliberate, as if holding its breath, for the story the world was about to see. Morning came early at the Horizon Grand. By 7, the lobby was spotless again, fresh orchids, polished marble, and a calm that felt carefully curated, almost rehearsed. But the staff's eyes told another story. Every whisper, every polite smile carried the memory of the night before. Alicia Monroe walked through the revolving glass doors, no longer undercover. Her black shirt had been replaced by a gold silk blouse that caught the light like sunrise. Guests turned instinctively, recognizing her now from headlines that had spread overnight. CEO fired staff who kicked her out of her own hotel. Carla met her halfway across the lobby. Footage hit 2 million views by dawn, she said quietly. Corporate lines are flooded. Half the staff from other branches just sent apology letters. Alicia nodded. Let them apologize to themselves first, then we'll talk. She stopped at the front desk. Leah, the intern who had spoken up, was already there, nervous but standing tall. Her uniform was pressed, and her name badge had been updated, Assistant Guest Relations, temporary promotion. Morning, Leah, Alicia said. Leah swallowed. Morning, Ms. Monroe. I didn't sleep much. Neither did this company, Alicia replied with a faint smile. But we're awake now. Guests nearby whispered, watching the two women talk. Someone murmured, that's the one who filmed everything. Alicia looked around, her gaze sweeping the space that once tried to erase her. The marble gleamed brighter now, but not from the lights, from clarity. Do you know what gold means to me, Leah? She asked. Leah shook her head. It's not wealth, it's reflection. Gold only shines when the light hits it. What matters is who's holding the light. Leah's eyes glistened. Thank you for letting me stay. Alicia's expression softened. You earned that right the moment you decided silence wasn't enough. Carla approached with a folder. Media wants a statement, ma'am. Press conference at 11. Alicia closed the folder without looking. They'll get one line. Accountability is our luxury standard. Nothing more. She turned back toward the grand doors where morning light poured in. Prepare a guest memo. Every location, every branch, she added. No customer, no employee ever gets treated as less than the floor they stand on. Carla nodded, already typing. As Alicia stepped out into the sunlight, cameras flashed from across the street. She didn't slow down. She didn't pose. Behind her, a tourist whispered, "That's her." And somewhere deep in the hotel's security system, a new protocol activated, one named after her color of choice. Protocol Gold Dignity First. The lobby, once a place of humiliation, now hummed with a different sound, quiet respect. Justice had walked through that door last night. This morning it stayed. By 11 o'clock, every major network van had lined up outside the Horizon Grand. Reporters waited beneath the golden awning microphones, poised like arrows aimed at truth. Inside, the staff adjusted uniforms, rehearsed smiles, and whispered about whether she'd really speak. Alicia didn't rush. She sat in the executive lounge overlooking the city 40 floors above the chaos she once stood in. The skyline shimmered under sunlight. Below, people held signs that read, "Respect builds empires and silence isn't service." Carla approached, tablet in hand. "Press is ready. They're asking if you'll take questions." Alicia didn't look away from the window. "No questions, just the truth." Carla nodded. "Leah's waiting downstairs with the hospitality team. She asked if she could stand behind you." "She should," Alicia said. She earned that view. When the elevator doors opened at the lobby, the flash of cameras was instant, staccato, blinding, relentless. But Alicia didn't shield her eyes. She moved through it like light itself, the gold blouse glowing beneath the glass ceiling. The reporters swarmed. "Miss Monroe, how did it feel being kicked out of your own hotel? Do you plan to sue the staff? What message do you want to send to the world?" She reached the podium, placed her palms flat on the dark marble surface, and waited. The room fell silent. Her voice was calm, deliberate, with the cadence of someone used to commanding boardrooms, but this time she spoke for everyone watching online, not investors. "Last night wasn't about a hotel. It was about what happens when people forget what respect looks like. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Dignity speaks louder than volume." Cameras clicked. A murmur rippled through the crowd. "I built Monroe hotels to stand for more than luxury," she continued. "If our walls ever make someone feel small, then we've already failed." She glanced toward Leah, standing near the back of the stage, hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Courage doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, 'This isn't right,' and keeps the camera rolling." Leah's eyes brimmed with tears. Carla stood beside her, chin, high pride, silent but palpable. Alicia paused, letting the words breathe. "Then the people who disrespected me are gone. But this moment isn't about punishment, it's about clarity. From this day forward, Horizon Grand will be our reminder that justice can be elegant." Applause erupted, not choreographed, but real. She looked straight into the nearest camera lens. "If you've ever been told you don't belong, remember this: you don't need permission to stand where you've built the ground." For a second, even the clicking stopped. The silence felt sacred. Then Alicia stepped away from the podium. No exit line, no fanfare. Just grace. Outside, the wind caught her hair, gold light bending around her like proof that calm could in fact conquer storms. That night, the city didn't sleep. Clips from the press conference flooded every feed. The moment Alicia said justice can be elegant looped endlessly, turned into reels, quotes, even t-shirts within hours. Hashtags trended across platforms: number the gold standard, number Monroe moment, number dignity first. Inside her penthouse suite, Alicia sat by the window again. The skyline below flickered with the same golden glow that filled her lobby earlier. The hum of notifications vibrated through the room, but she ignored them, staring instead at her reflection in the glass. Carla entered quietly, holding 2 cups of tea. "You just hit 10 million views," she said. "Half the comments are people sharing their own stories of being dismissed or profiled." Alicia smiled, faintly, tired but steady. "Then we did something right. The goal was never revenge, it was reflection." Carla nodded. "Investors are calling. They say the company's image has never been stronger." "It's not an image," Alicia corrected softly. "It's a mirror. For once people are seeing who we really are." The room fell quiet again. From the city below came the distant wail of sirens, the pulse of nightlife continuing as if nothing had changed. But something had subtle, invisible, irreversible. Leah knocked lightly at the door. She stepped in hesitantly, holding a folder. "Ma'am, I wrote something. A staff memo draft for every branch." Alicia gestured for her to sit. "Let's hear it." Leah read, voice trembling but growing stronger. "Hospitality isn't about hierarchy. It's about presence. Every guest, every coworker, every person who walks through our doors deserves to feel seen. Dignity isn't a luxury. It's the foundation." She stopped, glancing up nervously. Alicia's eyes softened. "Keep that first line. It's the heart of everything." Leah exhaled, a small smile breaking through. "Thank you, Miss Monroe." "It's Alicia," she corrected gently. "Titles remind people where we've been. Names remind them who we are." Carla's phone buzzed. "Press wants a follow-up interview. They're calling it 'The Day Calm Changed the Game.'" Alicia chuckled under her breath. They can have the story. I'll keep the lesson. She rose from her chair, walking to the balcony. The night wind carried the hum of traffic and a faint echo of applause from somewhere below. A crowd still gathered outside the hotel, chanting her name softly, as if justice had taken human form. Funny, Alicia said almost to herself. They call it a storm when a woman simply refuses to move. Carla joined her by the glass. You didn't just refuse. You redirected. Alicia's reflection met hers in the window, two silhouettes framed by gold and city light. Maybe that's all power really is, she whispered, knowing when to stay still and when to let the world catch up. And for the first time since the lobby erupted, she allowed herself to breathe, slow, deep, and free. By the next morning, the city had turned her story into legend. News anchors replayed the footage on loop, the calm woman in gold standing under a chandelier while an entire staff froze. But now the tone had shifted. What began as scandal had become scripture, a reminder that composure could be power. At the Horizon Grand, employees lined the corridor leading to the main ballroom. New banners hung above the entrance. Monroe Hotel's dignity is our design. Alicia arrived without fanfare. No press, no entourage, just the soft click of her heels and the warm rustle of her golden blouse. Carla walked beside her holding a folder marked Staff Retraining Initiative. All branches connected, Carla said quietly. 10,000 employees watching live. Alicia nodded. Let's make it worth their time. Inside, the staff waited, nervous, expectant, some ashamed, some inspired. Leah stood near the front, clutching her notepad, eyes wide. Alicia took the stage, no microphone needed. The room obeyed her silence before she even spoke. We sell comfort, she began. But last week this place sold humiliation. That changes today. Her tone was steady. Not anger, not pride, just conviction. Hospitality isn't about serving people who look like they belong. It's about seeing the worth in those who've been told they don't. The crowd listened like it was hearing the definition of their own job for the first time. You don't need to know someone's title to treat them with respect. You just need to remember your own. A few staff members lowered their eyes. Others nodded slowly. Leah's hands trembled as she wrote each line word for word. Alicia looked over the sea of uniforms, blue, white, black, each one reflecting the chandelier light differently, like a constellation of second chances. This company will not be known for what we own, she said. It'll be known for how we behave when no one's watching. Carla's eyes glistened. Even the cameraman forgot to move. Alicia paused, then added, I don't expect perfection. I expect presence. Every guest you meet carries a story you can't see. Treat them as if they're the reason this building stands, because they are. A quiet murmur rippled through the room, the kind that happens when shame starts turning into resolve. She stepped back, letting the silence sink in. If you're willing to rebuild with me, she said finally, then welcome to the real Monroe legacy. Applause filled the hall, not loud but layered, human, sincere. Leah whispered to herself. She turned humiliation into policy. And from the back, an older staff member said softly, she turned power into grace. Alicia smiled faintly. Grace, she echoed. That's the only luxury that never goes out of style. The audience rose to their feet, not commanded, not choreographed, just moved. Outside, the golden reflection of the hotel's logo shimmered across the glass facade, and for the first time it didn't just spell wealth. It spelled worth. The applause faded into a hum that lingered like incense. When it finally quieted, Alicia stood still, letting the silence breathe. Behind her, the massive screen displayed a single line in white text: Protocol Gold active. Carla approached, whispering, The retraining orientation starts next week. 50 managers have already volunteered. Alicia gave a small nod. Volunteered or repented? Carla smiled faintly. A bit of both, I think. The ballroom doors opened and the crowd began to spill into the lobby, their steps lighter than when they came in. Some paused to shake her hand. Others simply nodded in gratitude, as if words would only dilute the weight of the moment. Leah lingered near the stage, still holding her notepad. Alicia, she corrected quickly. Can I ask you something? Of course. Leah hesitated. When he yelled at you that night, how did you stay so calm? Alicia's gaze softened. She thought for a moment before answering. When I was 16, I was asked to leave a store for browsing too long. The manager told me, people like you don't buy, they wander. I promised myself that day if I ever owned something worth walking through, no one would feel unwelcome inside it. Leah blinked, absorbing every syllable. You remembered all that. I never forgot, Alicia said. Calm isn't silence. It's memory under control. From the far corner of the lobby, a familiar voice interrupted Mark Dillard. He wasn't in uniform now, just a plain gray suit, eyes tired but clear. He walked toward her cautiously. "Miss Monroe," he said, voice low. "I wanted to apologize again, not for losing my job, for never realizing how much harm a tone can do." Alicia studied him. "What are you doing here, Mark?" HR asked if I'd be willing to attend the training program. I said yes. I don't deserve another chance, but I need one anyway. The room went still again. Leah looked at Alicia, unsure how she'd respond. Alicia took a slow breath. "Then start by listening more than you speak. That's where respect begins." Mark nodded, shame and gratitude tangled in his expression. "Thank you." As he left, Carla murmured, "You didn't have to do that." "I did," Alicia said softly. "Justice without mercy just recreates cruelty in a prettier suit." Outside, the sun dipped behind the skyline, throwing streaks of amber light across the lobby. The same marble floor that had once mirrored humiliation now reflected healing gold on gold. Carla glanced at the reflection and whispered, "You turned this place into a sermon." Alicia smiled faintly. "Not a sermon, a start." She picked up Leah's notepad, scribbled a single line at the bottom, and handed it back. In her handwriting it read, "Power isn't what you hold. It's what you give without losing yourself." Leah stared at it, then whispered, "That's going on the wall." Alicia looked toward the lobby doors, sunlight cutting a golden path before her. "Good," she said. "Then they'll know what kind of house this really is." The next morning, the Horizon Grand opened its doors under a softer kind of light. The sky was pale gold, the city still quiet like it knew something sacred had taken root overnight. For the first time in years, the air in the lobby didn't carry tension or performance. It carried peace. Guests arrived early. A young couple from Atlanta, a woman traveling alone from Nairobi, a retired teacher from Detroit. Each one was greeted by staff who stood taller now, not out of duty, but out of pride. Their "good morning" sounded like a promise. Alicia stood at the balcony above the lobby, watching without being seen. She had always dreamed of this view, not the architecture, not the chandeliers or the polished marble, but the human rhythm beneath them, dignity in motion, respect as choreography. Carla joined her, tablet in hand. "Occupancy's up 40% overnight. The story's bringing in more bookings than any ad we've ever run." Alicia smiled faintly. "Good. But if they come for the story, let's make sure they stay for the standard." Down below, Leah was walking a family through check-in. The youngest child pointed up at the ceiling and whispered, "Is that the lady from the video?" Leah smiled. "Yes," she said. "That's Miss Monroe. She built this place." Alicia heard it. The sentence hung in the air like music. She built this place. Not from bricks, but from lessons, each one laid in silence, pressed with patience, sealed with purpose. She turned to Carla. "Tomorrow send a memo to every property," she said. "Rename the Monroe Lounge in each hotel." Carla blinked. "Rename it to what?" Alicia watched the sunlight slide across the lobby floor. "The Dignity Room, a reminder of where every story begins." Carla smiled, tapping it into her notes. "Done." They stood together, overlooking the grand space that had once been the scene of humiliation. Now it gleamed like redemption in marble and gold. Guests laughed softly, the staff moved with confidence, and a warm hum filled the air, a sound that wasn't luxury but life. Alicia placed her hand on the railing, her reflection mingling with the chandelier's light. "Do you hear that, Carla?" she asked. "What?" "Peace. That's what justice sounds like when it stays." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Alicia stepped back from the railing, ready to move on to the next city, the next hotel, the next quiet revolution. Behind her, the new sign over the lobby doors glowed in the morning light. The Monroe Standard, Dignity First. The camera would have faded there, but if it lingered just a little longer, it would catch one last thing: Alicia's reflection in the gold glass, smiling not in triumph but in calm assurance. She didn't need to prove she belonged anymore. The world had finally learned. She always did.